So we've got a problem. You want to learn how to paint loosely, and you're hoping that by learning through YouTube videos and going through all kinds of resources that you'll find your style, and you'll also learn how to paint loosely. But the problem is that no matter what you do and what you try, you still find that painting loosely is so hard and it's so tricky. So what can we do about it? Today, I wanted to bring you through all the different reasons why painting loosely is so difficult. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is Jillian, and on this channel, I not just only share about painting, I also want to give you a little insight into what it's like being a full-time creative, as well as share with you some of my perspectives around creating and painting and all things watercolor. So let's dive into the 5 different reasons why painting loosely can be so hard for so many of us. Reason number 1, we have this keen sense to need to fill in all the gaps. Now, we've been trained from a very young age that accuracy and attention to detail are all important components for you to get success in anything. So as a result, whenever we are asked to paint something loosely, we're asking you to remove away details, and that can be really hard, especially since we have already trained our brain into figuring out things in a certain way, and that's exactly how we make sense of things as well, to create through making detail. When you try and create in a more abstract way where it's loose, there's not so much detail, it's also hard to figure out a structure around it. That's where painting loosely can feel really hard. Here's one thing that I do to help me to kind of close my eyes and remove away all of that detail. What I do is I would squint at the subject that I'm looking at to paint so that it gives me a more blurry vision, as well as allow me to focus on the shape. Now, when we are painting loosely, what we're painting is the shape, not so much the petals or the stems. What we want to do is we want to capture the entire shape. So if you are starting to see your flowers as big shapes, it's going to be a lot easier for you to capture them in the form that they are in and see it that way. Reason number 2, now many of us actually hold on to all kinds of fears, and when I talk about fears, I'm really referring to the fear of messing up, or the fear of making artwork that isn't worth it to put up on social media, or even the fear of losing control. And the thing about these fears is that they're all really valid, because when you're painting loosely, the lack of detail, the lack of structure, and that there's no real right or wrong way of doing it, or you're not really able to identify where to start, how exactly things should look like, it can feel very scary jumping into doing something that doesn't really have real definition. So as a result, painting loosely can feel very hard, mainly because of the roadblocks that are within ourselves that stop us from wanting to really paint loosely. Now, when we are talking about control, watercolor is a medium where control can feel very hard, and that's because of how fluid it is with water and so on and so forth. At the same time, coupled with painting loose florals, that can be an even harder thing to think about. So I want you to think about the fears that you might have. Ask yourself some of the questions around what exactly is stopping you or kind of hindering your process with regard to painting loosely, and what some of it is within us, because the roadblocks that we face within ourselves can really hinder our process. I also want to take this time to acknowledge that fear is a mechanism that is built to keep you safe. Whenever it feels like it's an experience that is unknown or not familiar or uncomfortable, that's when our brain tends to go into this, no, don't go there, you might be judged, you might be shamed, it might not work out, you might fail. And it does that because it wants to keep you safe. It doesn't like all of that discomfort. It takes a while for us to build a tolerance around this discomfort. So one way to overcome all of this would be for you to do and practice as much as you can. So building that tolerance, using the brush strokes, doing all of that is going to help you to build a tolerance towards the discomfort that you're feeling. And also it signals to your brain that it's okay to fail, it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to lose control, especially when we're creating art. Reason number 3 for why it's hard to paint loosely is related to the supplies that you're using. Now, paying attention to the type of supplies that you pick and choose when you are painting is going to impact the type of painting that you get. So if you choose smaller brushes, it's also going to mean that a lot of your strokes are going to be smaller, and what you're able to capture on your paper is all going to be of a smaller scale. Now, if you want to paint looser, you're going to have to think about bigger brushes, bigger size paper, and all of that, and changing and resizing and scaling that is also going to mean that you're going to use your body more. And if you engage your body, that is also going to help you to be able to create all of those loose, beautiful movement and expression on that paper, which helps you to paint loosely. Now, the thing about choosing your materials, now a lot of the time when we choose a small brush, we tend to then hold it closer to the brush tip, and everything gets closer and closer, and it becomes tighter and tighter as well. When you hold the bigger brush, we hold it further away. We might even stand, or we might even use our arm more, and there's going to be so much more movement and rotation. And as a result, you're able to capture all of that on paper as compared to when you're using a small brush. So something for you to think about. It's not just about the supplies that you're choosing, but also the way your body is responding to the supplies that you have. So that brings me to point number 4, which is not paying attention to your body as you are painting. Now, whenever we are painting, and if we are slouched over the paper and holding our brush really tightly, everything is going to appear and be tight. So think about your body as you are painting. Pay attention to how hard you're holding your brush. If you're holding your brush really tightly and close to the tip, then you are going to produce much tighter work as compared to if you're holding it further and if you're holding it lighter. Keeping a light hand on your work is going to allow you to again create all of those nice loose strokes. And when you hold your brush lighter, it's also going to feel a lot looser naturally in your body. I would encourage you to use your arm more than your fingers and your wrists. So this way you're going to get big, broad movements. That's also a way in which you can paint loosely. Now, instead of going very close to your paper, you want to be slightly further away from your paper. So consider standing also as you're painting. And sometimes for me, when I'm painting, standing gives me that perspective where I'm able to see things from afar, and I lose the details as a result. I start to see bigger shapes. It's a lot easier for me to see things because of that distance between me and the paper. And with that distance, it also enables me to hold my brush slightly further away. So something for you to think about. Think about the way in which your body is engaging with the materials that you choose. Point number 5 this time is going to go into the skills that you have with watercolor. Now, a lot of us might not necessarily have a good and strong foundation with the possibilities in mixing and matching the different techniques in watercolor onto one piece of painting. The thing about watercolor is that you actually get to use water, and water is what allows you to create movement in your piece, whether it's with the paint flowing or whether it is with creating some gaps in your painting or nice dispersed soft look in your painting. Water is such a great medium to use. But at the same time, it's also a very tricky one. Many of us struggle with how much water, how are we going to use it, and as a result, we go back into point 2, which is our fears. We get all of those fears, and then we end up choosing a smaller brush, and doing all of that results in, again, a painting that we are not exactly happy with. So building that foundation with the techniques that you have with watercolor, understanding the type of effects that you want, and growing that relationship with water is going to help you to become a more confident painter, so that whenever you are painting, you are aware and more intentional of what exactly you want from each stroke as you are laying it down on paper. Now I know the misconception is that when you are painting loosely, you should paint fast. And you know, when you're painting fast, then you go into flow and it feels more intuitive and things like that. Now the thing is, this is a misconception, and I personally feel that when you go fast, while it might have its benefits, that it feels more free-flowing and maybe it pushes all your fears out the window, but we don't actually learn the muscles to it. We don't actually learn to appreciate how each stroke and technique created this masterpiece. And slowing down is actually going to help you so that the next time you create another piece, you are better able to replicate exactly what you want. It's also going to help you to learn at a pace that is more suited for you. At the same time, getting to know all the different techniques related to watercolor is also going to help you to understand the possibilities there are in watercolor. There's so much possibilities, and that's the magic with using water really. And also, you know, the magic of the transparency. There's so much happening with the properties of watercolor, and I think that if you are more confident and knowledgeable about how watercolor works exactly, it's going to really help you with your fears, it's going to help you with your supply selection, it's also going to help you with your confidence. So all of this is going to definitely build up on each other so that you are able to paint more loosely. So now that we have gone through the 5 different reasons why painting loosely is so tricky, I want you to kind of think about which point exactly resonates with where you are at right now. It could be a combination, it could be just one particular thing, or even things that you didn't even think about. I want you to put your insights and your opinions in the comments below. Share with me exactly what makes painting loosely difficult for you. Share with me your experience. I really love all of the engagement, and this also gives me the opportunity to get to know you better as well. Now, one thing that I personally feel is that when it comes to art and, you know, creating and creativity, there is no real outcome. So many of the time, whenever I visualize something in my head about what I want it to look like, it always translates in a different way. And I want to encourage you to start focusing more on the journey and the process of it becoming rather than what it is, because this is really going to shape your mindset a lot. It's also going to help you to appreciate where you are at in your journey, what you're doing, how it makes you feel. All of that is going to come in, and it's very different as to achieving a masterpiece all the time. Now, it's not going to be so fun if, as an artist, I only am able to produce masterpieces. It's not fun at all. I mean, while it's really nice, it isn't fun because I don't actually learn anything from it, and I end up creating all of these masterpieces without really being able to differentiate my journey, my progress, where I'm not able to compare where I was and how far I've come. So I think that it's important for all of us to go into the journey of this loose floral painting with an open mind, and hopefully with some of the tips that I've shared and the reasons why, you're better able to reflect on your own journey so that you can better paint loosely. Now, I really enjoyed doing this chat, and I would love to do more of these. So also share with me some of the different questions that you have so that it can be an avenue for me to explore and possibly chat about it more. Thank you so much for making time to be here with me on this channel. If you have not yet done so, remember to hit the subscribe button where I will be dishing out a new video every week. Remember to also like, comment and all of that, because this helps the algorithm push out this video out into the world. I thank you for being here, and I'll see you again.